Hey everybody, welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies.
You did it! Yay!
I'm not being a cow though.
You should be.
I realized halfway through the moo.
Yeah, that makes it sound like it's so many heifers or something.
Oh, yeah, there's a month.
We got cows.
Right, we watched Twister, we watched Barnyard. What other cow movies are there?
I'm sure there's Babe. We could probably work Babe in there in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Home on the
Funny
Range.
Farm.
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Welcome to the show. It's So Many Scares month. That's why, we're doing this. That's why old Bride of Frankenstein's back there in the background of Garrett's shot. If you're watching us on YouTube, where you should subscribe so you can help us reach our next subscriber goal of 316, because Stone Cold said so.
Dun, 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 dun. That's right.
Go check that out. Or in your podcasting app. Really, whichever way you want to enjoy the show is up to you. We just, want you to pick one of them, I guess. Or both. You could pick both.
Tell your friends too. Invite them to the show. For some reason people don't like to go to movies alone, so you don't want to listen to this by yourself. Bring a friend along.
Right, right. That's kind of what this is all about, because then you can talk with us about it afterward.
Exactly.
Let us be your third space.
Right. Exactly. We're nearing the end of the month, honestly. This week we're doing The Sixth Sense. Previously, we've talked about Final Destination, An American Werewolf in London, and we got coming up our fan-voted pick that you guys haven't voted on yet, but you will very soon, which you'll be able to do on our Instagram page at So Many Sequels Pod. We've been posting throughout the week, throughout the month, really, about submitting movies from your Halloween watch list. What do you guys watch during October to get ready for spooky season? Do you like the kiddie classics? What are those? Great Pumpkin, that's what we said last time. Casper, that's a kid's movie.
Casper's a great one.
Movie.
Yeah. The Frighteners, yeah.
The Frighteners is an option for some.
Adam's Family.
Previous
We've already
years.
done the Frighteners.
Hocus
We will
Pocus.
not
we
accept
love
that one.
Hocus Pocus is probably a kid's Halloween classic.
We gotta do the Addams Family.
Oh, yeah.
We gotta do that someday.
Yep.
Add it
Do
to the
both,
old
why not?
noggin. Maybe we'll do it for the fan vote. I don't know, because it hasn't happened yet. There's only one way to do it. Instagram.
How's that, Josh?
Instagram at So Many Sequels Pod. Let's get into our review of the week, though, which is going to be The Sixth Sense, like I said. Following an unexpected tragedy, child psychologist Malcolm Crowe meets a 9-year-old boy named Cole Sear who is hiding a dark secret. Now, this is a huge movie. Before we even bother getting into the box office, we know this is a huge movie. This is a movie that's like, I don't know if you can spoil it because it's one of the all-time twists. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like the twist in this movie is up there with Darth Vader is his father and others.
I was like,
The Jaws was all a dream.
oh
And
yes,
others.
that's the biggest one of all. But I also think
So-
that we probably don't need
Try
to
to think of the
spoil
most
it because I
underwhelming
think it's
twist
like
they could.
spoiled. I think people know the twist.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of what I'm saying is like, I don't know that it counts as a spoiler anymore, so don't add us if that's the case.
They literally spoiled it in Ocean's 12. So,
Right.
I mean, what more damage can we do?
Right.
That's pretty true. So anyway, I say that going just so you know, if you did wake up today and had never seen it and somehow ended up here, don't complain to me about it. That's all I'm saying. All right, David, how did the box office do when The Sixth Sense came out? This is the movie that really made M. Night Shyamalan's career, or not made it, but like put him on the
definitely.
map,
Put him in the
Well, I think
stratosphere,
definitely.
I'd say.
put him in the stratosphere.
I think definitely you could say it put him on the map for sure. I mean, it definitely made him a I don't know if household name is the right word, but it definitely made him like a bankable name in Hollywood. And you look at his career after this, he was making, we act like M. Night Shyamalan fell off at some point. He has consistently made a movie like every 2 to 3 years. He has a new movie out to this day. So how did The Sixth Sense do back in August of 1999? Well, Garrett went to see this for your birthday is what you told us, right?
That's the dots I'm gonna connect.
Child Garrett saw this probably way too young in 1999. The movie opened number 1 with $26.6 million. That's the equivalent to a $50 million open in 2024, adjusted for inflation. The box office this weekend is, I mean, we're going to talk more about the year 1999 later this year, but you just look at this rundown of movies, and it is, I mean, it's a lot of the hits that we've been talking about whether or not we should do again. So Sixth Sense is your number one movie of the week. In the number 2 spot in its 4th weekend is The Blair Witch Project, bringing in 24.3. At number 3 is The Runaway Bride, a movie that's scary for its own reasons, with 20.7 in its 2nd week. At number 4, you have The Thomas Crown Affair, which brought in 14.6 in its opening weekend. At number 5, one of my favorite, let's call it a creature feature, Deep Blue Sea, brings in 11.2 in its 2nd week. I'm just going to run through some of the other movies that opened this week. I won't go through every movie that came out. Mystery Men opened to $10 million this weekend in the number 6 spot. The Iron Giant opened to 5.7 in the number 9 spot. Have you guys ever seen the movie Dick? That opened this weekend with 2.2 million. And this was actually all around a really good week at the box office. You had 17 movies make 1 million or more at the box office, which is pretty great. It would be by today's standards, I think, for sure, to have that many movies doing that well. The Sixth Sense would have 5 straight weeks at the number 1 spot. That's not the record, but that's still pretty impressive when you consider that that's a full month and a week at the top spot in the number at the box office. It finished its U.S. run with $293 million in the U.S. That's the equivalent of $554 million in 2024. $379 million overseas for a worldwide total of $672.8 million. All of that on a budget that's estimated to be between $40 and $55 million. Very impressive. Any thoughts so far? Anything you guys want to throw in?
I didn't see this in the theaters when it came out, so I don't know. I just remember being like hearing about this being the big famous scary movie that I don't know about. I don't remember really when the first time I saw it was.
One other detail I want to throw in about that opening weekend: Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace was at number 11 in its 12th week with 2.2 million.
Wow.
How
about that?
1999, we talk about it. Incredible year. So, Sixth Sense would go on to be the number 2 movie of the year behind Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, followed by another movie we reviewed, Toy Story 2, was number 3 with 245. Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me was number 4. And at number 5, we have... that's the one with Felicity Shagwell. At number 5, we have The Matrix. But a huge year. We will talk about this year a lot. Some of the previous movies from 99 we've done include The Mummy. We have reviewed... I think Blast from the Past also came out this year. So we've reviewed those for Brendan Fraserary. So definitely an awesome year. And The Sixth Sense was one of the biggest movies of that year. And to your point, Josh, it's the biggest movie of Bruce Willis's career. It's still I think it's still the highest grossing film for M. Night Shyamalan. Just a huge, huge movie that can't be spoiled. So Garrett, why'd you pick this?
I got issues. No, I've said often.
Do you see dead people?
Man,
I hope
only in dreams. I've said often on this show that I didn't like horror movies growing up, and this is the movie that caused that issue. I remember seeing this in the theaters. My birthday is in August, and I went with a friend and his mother, and we went to see this movie. And I don't think I liked horror movies at the time already, but I was like, whatever. And I truly don't remember much about the experience other than I had my fingers just like digging into my eyes and my thumbs like knuckles deep into my ears. And at one point in time, my friend's mom like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, nothing's happening." And I was like, "Okay." And it was not a good time. And ever since then, I have had issues with scary movies. And especially ghost-based scary movies. Those are the ones that get me every single time in various ways. And so after 6 years of doing this podcast, I felt like it was time for me to be like, you know what? Let's reclaim this movie. Let's rewatch this. Josh, you even said off mic that Andrew, whenever he was here on the show, I was adamant that we wouldn't do it because I didn't want to watch it. And so this is the first time I've watched it since that experience, and it was definitely a different take this time. But I did make my fiance stay with me because she was like, I'm going to bed. And I was like, I genuinely don't think I can watch this by myself.
Was she like, this is not scary to me and I'm going to bed? Or did she find it also scary?
She did not. I mean, our takeaway this time was not necessarily the fear, but it was the heaviness. Right.
Valid. Yeah.
So okay, it was a different experience for sure, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. I had seen it before. I didn't have that kind of visceral reaction to it, I don't think. But it's still really scary. What about you, David? Before we get into our first thoughts, do you have any relationship with this, or this was your first time, right?
Yeah, it's my first time watching it. Didn't have the kind of parents that wanted to see this type of movie. Yeah. Wasn't the type of boy who wanted to see this movie. And then, so this is my first time seeing it.
Okay. Well, let's go to you then, Garrett. How was the revisit? Are you less scared of it?
Yes.
Are you? Oh,
I am.
Okay, that's good.
I think for me, I over the course of 25 years or however long it's been since I saw this movie, grown into an adult human being who understands how feelings and emotions work, and I'm a heavy empath, and this movie is heavy when it comes to darkness. I mean, it is deep, dark, sad, tragic from the jump, and that opening scene is so unsettling, especially as a 10-year-old child, that I think that really just set the tone for me throughout the rest of the thing. And then Haley Joel Osment was so easily believable, and the anticipation is what scares me more than the payoff most of the time. And if a build is done well, I'm continually terrified that something's going to happen. And so those builds that this movie has, and they do a good job of delivering those, they're still scary, but it's more just so heavy. And just really sad. And knowing the twist, having seen it, you look at it from a different perspective. And this time it was this sad boy who is just tormented and trying to survive. And that was the hardest part of the watch this time, was Haley Joel Osment's performance and how he delivered it. And you could tell that he was just, everybody would think that he was crazy, but he truly was being just tormented and terrified. And so that experience, and then knowing that again, that Bruce and his character's dead, you see them helping each other. And it's this weird, beautiful, but dark, because he is a ghost tormenting this kid, but they were needed. And so knowing that and seeing that relationship, it was such a different experience. It had scary moments, but it was mostly just the heavy, heavy tone that I think I carried with me throughout it. And then obviously being a kid, it was terrifying. But this time was a different reaction. And I just saw it for a really good movie.
Yeah, I'm going to save you for last, David, since it was your first time to watch it.
Okay.
This is a good movie. Forget so many scares, take that out of it. You could just put this in any part of the year, and it's a good movie. There's so much to it. It's not just your typical horror movie where you think you're going in to a ghost story or something like that. It's really unsettling. That's I would totally agree with everything you said about just the heaviness and the darkness to it. That's what I noticed this time too. Haley Joel Osment gives a really authentic and tender performance, but because of that, he creeps me out so much. He's a creepy little boy who sees ghosts. At the end of the day. Like, he's very sweet, don't get me wrong, but anytime he's really talking about it, I'm scared of him for some reason. Just the way he describes it. But on that same, thing with him having such a tender and emotional performance, towards the end, when he's talking to his mom about what his grandma has been telling him, I could barely keep a tear inside.
Oh my God. Faucet.
Because it was just such a touching. It's not just a touching moment. It's also scary. You know, he sees ghosts, and she's now really coming to terms with it, and he's proving it to her by telling her these things his dead grandma has been telling her, and that's like scary and sad. And when he goes, "Mama," and hugs her, yeah. I went, "Somebody hug me!" So there's multitudes. This movie contains multitudes. I think whether you wanted a horror movie or this movie about a poor little boy who is literally haunted by ghosts, you got it. It's not often that a horror movie can make me scared and cry. And then once you get through that, when the twist hits, Bruce Willis breaks your heart all over again. Because that whole thing is heartbreaking. So that's my initial thoughts. What did you come out of this with, David?
No, I think you're really onto something because, we're watching this for so many scares, but you could throw this into any category you wanted to and make it fit. There are tons of categories that tons of boxes this could check. So first off, let me say, is it scary themed? Yes. Was it scary movie? Not for me at this age, but if I had been 9 years old, this would have been terrifying. So I want to lead with that. I can agree that I think that as a kid, this would have been really tense and really eerie. The Sixth Sense is one of those films that has just been completely spoiled for me for my whole life. My parents wouldn't let me watch it to begin with because they thought it was going to be scary. But like the way pop culture was when we were growing up, there was no chance. Like this was referenced in movies and TV shows and awards shows. And, I feel like it was referenced in songs a lot, but I could not find any music that specifically referenced The Sixth Sense when I looked it up, except for Kendrick Lamar's They Not Like Us song, which referenced it fairly recently. Anyhow, so I'd never watched this before. Here we are, 2024, watching this for the podcast. I know the twist going in. I know the ending. And we can talk about spoiler culture here maybe later, but strangely enough, I had never in my entire life heard about the opening sequence where Bruce is there with his wife and the guy breaks into their house and it's a former student of his. I had never heard anybody reference that, anybody talk about it. No one ever mentions, like at the beginning of the movie, you see Bruce Willis get shot. So like, I was like, oh, okay, well, that changes. Like that was new to me. And all of a sudden now I'm hooked back in because there's elements of this movie that luckily the movie wasn't as simple as people's reduction of it has been over the years, because people reduce it to the twist and it's so much better than just that one moment. So watching it sort of with new and sort of like an honest look at it, I think it's actually kind of fascinating that the movie doesn't just lead in with the premise that Haley Joel Osment can see dead people. That's actually a reveal late in the movie. At first, you just think he's a really disturbed kid who has a lot of issues, who is maybe going through some kind of mental break. And then fairly deep in the movie, he drops the memorable, iconic line, "I see dead people." And all of a sudden, the movie now has a different context of what is happening to this kid. And it's like, played of like, oh, I think you're just saying that, but no, he's really seeing dead people, and part of the proof will be revealed as the movie goes on. But I found that to be so interesting is that the movie doesn't just start with that.
Right.
It's not like obvious right away what's happening. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that Bruce Willis's journey to try to find what's wrong with Cole, to try to understand Cole and to try to help him, was really fascinating. And I thought Cole's insight that he was able to provide to Bruce Willis was really interesting. So I thought this was an all-around very enjoyable movie that is, I think, a lot better than how it had been described to me over the years. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a really good pick for so many scares season, even if it's not terribly scary now.
Yeah,
I will say when that kid had a hole in his head and when that girl was barfing, I did go, "Ugh!"
Yes, there's some seriously
I did get spooked.
Scary imagery, but also you can see how, if you didn't know the I see dead people part.
Mm-hmm.
It is a scary point in the movie when it's revealed that he sees actual dead people. Because you 20 years later are like, or 25 years later are waiting on that. Mm-hmm. Where is it? Whereas audiences originally were like, had no idea that was coming, and they just thought that was the first, or maybe they thought that was the twist, and then there's more to come. What I am curious to ask you though, because I feel like this is a misconception. Were you aware that the twist was that Bruce Willis's character didn't know he's dead, or that he was dead?
Yes. I think the twist has always been described to me was, well, the way it's always phrased is Bruce Willis was dead all along.
Yeah, okay.
That's how people always say it. And then obviously, like I described earlier, Ocean's 12, there's this running gag. Bruce Willis, by the way, spoiler alert, is in Ocean's 12 while we're talking about spoilers. And he's playing himself. And there are at least 2 or 3 instances of people saying to him, when you didn't when you couldn't reach the check, I knew, when she pulled the check away from you, I knew you were a ghost. And Bruce Willis is like, wow, really? You knew then? Wow, that's impressive. Like Bruce Willis is just very dismissive of everybody's analysis of The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, and I think that's what this movie is also doesn't get enough credit for, is that Shyamalan was smart enough to shoot it in a way that they don't even, if you go back and watch it knowing the twist, they don't hide the fact that he is dead. I mean, they are laying things in front of your face in a very subtle way.
What is that? A red herring? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, for that Kaiser Soze moment at the end where
they have, because you think, because you're like, oh, I knew he's dead. No, he didn't know.
Right. And so he is going along, and you're watching it as his character, and you know there is no connection there. And the anniversary shot, if you look, she never looks at him. There's never any eye contact there, but they play it as their marriage is straining, right? So you are purposefully led a wrong way for the payoff at the end, but they do it so smartly that it is a true shocker to, it was a true shocker to everyone.
Well, and the door to his basement being blocked off, but never showing that part of the frame, never going below the doorknob to show you that his basement office has been blocked off this whole time.
You see what you want to see.
Sort of. Yes, exactly. Helping you see what you want to see, and believe, because they show you him get shot, but they gave you just enough reason to believe he's still alive, and it's plausible that he and his wife could be at this status of their relationship that she won't even look at him, she won't talk to him. So yeah, I thought it was a very delicately done, perfectly set up for this type of ending. So yeah, what are some of the? And then I also just to point out, I want to also shout out. I'm going to forget her name.
Toni Collette.
Toni Collette. That's exactly
with
it.
An incredible performance. Oh, she's so emotional, and like her relationship with Haley Joel Osment is like you said earlier, Josh. I mean, that end when they connect, because he's trying to keep her safe. She loves him so freaking much, and you can feel, and she's just worried about her son, and he desperately doesn't want her, his mother, to think and look at him like he's crazy, like everyone else in the world. And so that relationship, the whole thing is beautiful and the payoff at the end is really just tear-inducing. So yeah, great performances all around. What about the ghostliness? For me, I was thinking about this again. I'm often afraid of what's not there. The jump scares, the stuff that comes at you. It's like it seems weak. It seems cheap. But if you can scare me in a build, if you can scare me when nothing is happening, and then for this movie, you flip a switch, you've scared me already, and I'm not even seeing anything. And then you tell me this kid can see ghosts. Well, that just means that ghosts are about to show up, and I'm even more scared. And that means I'm about to see the things that I knew were there that were scaring me already. And so when that first ghost shows up in the kitchen and has that moment, and then David, you had mentioned the child with the head blown off, and then the vomiting child. I mean, all of those moments when those ghosts show up and they're about to show up after being scared without having them there, all of those moments are like, for me, that's where the blanket is needed. And I'm like, nope. What about you guys?
Yes, I agree. I find those moments scary. When you actually see the ghosts in their, gory glory sometimes, it is really scary. And even some of the, more subtle moments are scary. The kitchen stuff, with the drawers and all that. The even just the moment, again, going back to the car scene where he's talking to his mom about the grandma, and he's like, she's right outside my window, about the other dead lady.
Yeah.
And we get a quick glance at her just standing there all bloody. Like, just that quick shot scary to me. So yeah, those moments got me. How did you react to those, David? Since you said you didn't find it too spooky.
Well, and I also want to see if there's any kind of connection, because like the beginning of this movie, my thinking watching it this time, knowing how you feel about certain horror movies, is that it's kind of Paranormal Activity feeling, where there's not a lot happening. And so I feel like for David, that is not going to land.
Yeah, there was some sort of distance that kind of happens. But I feel like the problem I have with Paranormal Activity is that it, in attempting to seem natural, it feels very staged. But with the Sixth Sense, the story itself, these characters have such, well developed depth that you're actually curious what's going on in their head. When to sidetrack to a moment, when Bruce Willis is playing the game with Haley Joel Osment of reading his mind, he's coming forward and going back. I thought that was a really great scene and a great interaction between those two characters, sort of revealing elements of themselves to each other, while staying somewhat far back. When it comes to the appearances of these ghosts, I thought it was handled in such an unassuming way, because they weren't presented as sort of these floating, supernatural, translucent figures or anything like that. They looked like they were really there, and you get a sense of the woman in the kitchen with all the drawers being open earlier in the movie, and the pendant that's being moved. And when the boy appears in his home and the girl appears in his home, those are like, a little jarring, but they're not quite. Fortunately, they're not there to hurt him. They're there just to speak to him, So it kind of, while there's a moment of shock and a moment of tension, it's also very like you're trying to figure out what do they want at the same time. So there's a mystery component to this movie as well. Actually, one of the tensest moments for me, and I teased to it earlier, is Donnie Wahlberg's part at the beginning as Vincent Gray, where maybe he has the sixth sense, because he seems to be alluding and referencing a lot of the same things that Cole sees. And I noticed this, and I kept waiting for it to come back in a weird way. Cole and Vincent Gray at the beginning seem to have the same strange gray patch in the back of their hair I picked up on, where I thought it was I thought it was an interesting, because I'm looking at Vincent at the beginning when he's talking to Bruce Willis, and I noticed this gray patch in the back of his head. And then when Cole shows up, he has that same thing. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Is Cole his son? Is there some kind of a lineage thing here? And that's why Bruce Willis is here. But no, I was like, maybe that was a thing that nobody talks about, but no, that's just me making stuff up. Anyway, I thought it was very tense. Actually, another scary moment was when he gets locked in the cupboard.
Oh yeah, that
whatever that's called,
the top of the stairs thing, the laundry chute or whatever. When he's in there screaming, yeah, that scared me this time really bad.
That was scary. The voice coming out of it was very scary. Not quite under the covers scary, but definitely, I need to turn the lights on real quick scary.
Yeah, it's not a movie you watch with the lights off. At least not me anyway. I had the lights on for sure. Not today. We should have mentioned this at the top, or at least in the box office portion. But I wanted to go over how critically acclaimed this movie was as well. It did not end up taking home any Oscars, but it was nominated for quite a few. The Sixth Sense was nominated for Best Film Editing, Best Original Screenplay for M. Night Shyamalan. Best Supporting Actress was Toni Collette. Haley Joel Osment was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. M. Night Shyamalan was nominated for Best Director, and the movie was nominated Best Picture that year. Pretty impressive for a horror movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But didn't take home any of those.
It did not take home any.
What took home the screenplay? I'm surprised by that one.
Ooh, you know what? That's a Good question. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, because I knew it had been nominated for quite a bit, but I couldn't remember if it had won anything or not. So that's interesting. I also want to point out that I feel like Bruce Willis is, megastar, 1999 Bruce Willis, and he's doing something like this. So again, I think that casting was really perfect, because who thinks that Bruce Willis is going to die in the first 5 minutes of the movie, right? Like, it's perfectly believable that Action Man star would survive a gunshot to the belly and that's the end. And I think that was a really smart casting at the time, and he nailed the performance. I mean, it shows that he, at his peak, had quite a range.
Yeah, he was great. So, best screenplay for the 72nd Academy Awards went to American Beauty.
Oh.
The other nominees in that category were Being John Malkovich, Magnolia, The Sixth Sense, and Topsy Turvy.
Good year.
It was a good year.
That win does.
Yeah, I was just going through it as well, and it looks like most of the awards it lost to American Beauty that year.
That was a big year for American Beauty.
Yeah,
yes, it was.
Yeah, for sure. This was such a iconic movie when it came out and beyond. What did you? How does I See Dead People fit today? Does it still feel iconic when it happens on screen? I gotta admit, I felt like it almost felt underwhelming, but maybe it's because I knew it was coming.
Right.
But it almost doesn't feel like this huge moment anymore.
Probably because it's been overplayed.
I think.
Yeah.
I think once it hits a level of pop culture, it becomes numb.
I don't know where AFI ranks it, but it has to be in the top 10 most iconic movie lines of all time.
Yes, it's actually number 44. I saw that.
It's got to be higher than that.
I'd be curious to see what the whole list is. Yeah.
Because I would think knowing AFI, they would put Frankly, My Dear, I Don't Give a Damn. That's probably their number one. And then No, I'm Your Father is probably number two. But I would say it's one of the most iconic lines of all time. And I think it's because of the way it's written. He doesn't say, I see ghosts. And he doesn't say, I see, spirits or anything like that. He says, I see dead people, which is a terrifying thing for any child to say. Like the phrasing of that, because if he said, I see ghosts, it's kind of like, oh, like you immediately
like Scooby-Doo.
I see dead people. Yeah. It's got something to it. Like I don't see people as they were. I see people as how they died.
Right. It is very different to say I see dead people and then we get to see them, what they look like. I have to report that you just nailed it. And the number one quote is, Frankly, My Dear, I Don't Give a Damn. Number two is actually, you want to take just a wild guess at number two?
If it's not Darth Vader,
it's not.
I'm Your Father. Is it? Gosh, dang it! What would
we got to get a bigger boat?
Not that.
Need a bigger boat.
Is
it? I'll Have What She's Having.
It is not. It is. I'm gonna give him enough, or he can't refuse.
He can't refuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
No, all right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
All right. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Where does I'll Have What She's Having fall on that list?
We'll find it. I'll find it later. Any other big moments from this movie we want to call out here as we get toward the end of the show?
Let me think. I want to. We already shouted out a lot of the other great performances. I want to also shout out Olivia Williams as Bruce Willis's wife. I thought she had a really challenging job of pretending Bruce Willis isn't there. But she doesn't have a lot to say, but she's so sad. You were talking about, Garrett, how sad the movie is, and that's a big part of it. Is once we knew going in, but if you were watching that movie in 1999 and you don't know Bruce Willis is dead the whole time, you're watching that movie thinking, why is she being so mean to him? And then at the end, you go back and you replay her being asleep with tissues and watching her wedding video as an incredibly sad experience a year after her a few months after her husband has died.
I think we wrap it up, boys. Let's go.
I think I'm good. Yeah, let's get into our final thoughts.
I also just want to say, though, I did not expect this movie also to have a moment where basically Haley Joel Osment uncovers a murder. No one's ever told me that. No one's ever told me that Haley Joel Osment solves a murder case in this movie.
It's so insignificant to the dead people parts.
I know.
I mean, the undead people.
This girl recorded herself being poisoned by her mom or stepmom or
Right.
something. That's crazy.
I want to hear Garrett's rating first. Obviously, it's your pick. So where are you landing here?
Man, what a crazy ride. I walked away from this movie with a better appreciation for it, obviously, having seen it all the way through without covering most of my eyes. It really knows what it is. It launched M. Night into a career-defining... I mean, it still is the thing that defines his career, and people still expect him to be able to deliver, and that's just not fair. But what was interesting, and I didn't expect, was to walk away knowing the twist and everything with it, and to think that it was a better movie.
Wow, yeah.
I don't think that based on that, I can give it anything less than a 5-star movie. I mean, if the biggest thing about this movie is the twist, and I walk away thinking it's a better movie having known the twist, I think that is someone who thought about this movie, knew what it wanted to be, and really did a good job executing it. And I have nothing bad to say about it.
Dang. Yeah. Well said. Well said. David, are you ready to drop yours?
Yeah, I mean, a really well set up twist makes rewatching it either better or as enjoyable as it was the first time. I'm gonna go with 4.5 stars. It's a very, very good movie. I think if I had watched this movie probably earlier in my life, I probably would be, like nostalgia would probably push to that 5-star range. But I think I'm gonna go with 4.5. Very solid. I would watch this again.
Yeah. That's. I think that's a great spot to be at for your first viewing too. I think I can't disagree with anything that y'all said at all. But I'm gonna go with Garrett. I think you convinced me with your argument. Really, you don't. I feel like it doesn't even have to necessarily be better. Just that you can know all the twists and still be like, "Wow, that was great." 5 stars.
Yeah.
5 stars.
Well, and I even mean, like, if you get to a movie and the twist happens and it's really poorly set up, you go, "Well, that was stupid," and then you watch it back the second time, you go, well, "This is dumb. You didn't even. This did a terrible job of setting this up." But like this laid the groundwork so well that when you watch it the second time, you go, "Oh, that. Oh, this. Oh man, how could I have missed these things?" That's the mark of a great twist, is when it improves your second viewing, or at least makes it more fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Totally agree. No, I think that's a totally valid thing. All right, let's get through this letterbox game here real quick. I already know that I am in last place thanks to our shakeup last week in the leaderboard. Let's go through some of the most popular reviews on Letterboxd. 3.5 stars. Oh, this says, imagine how insane this film would have been if Michael Cera passed his audition. Did Michael Cera audition?
Yeah, he did. Movie? I read that.
Yeah, I was just
Haley?
reading that. The Michael Cera. Yeah, he read for Cole.
Wow, what a way to learn that fact.
I see dead people.
4.5 stars. Love the twist ending where they reveal Bruce Willis had 2 foreheads the entire movie.
That's cold. That's cold.
And then finally, 4.5 stars. Toni Collette has some fucked up kids.
Yes,
she does. You got a bad penchant.
So I will. I really think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be in the 4s. So I'm gonna just dart at the wall. 4.2.
That's a good guess. Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good guess. I'm going to go with a 4.0. I'll just give it an even 4.
Oh, dang it.
Damn it,
Bobby. While I mill about on the thought here, I wonder if this movie came out in 2024, if it would be viewed the same way. I wonder if it could get the same kind of traction that it got in 1999. I don't think it could. I think we live in too different of a world.
Would be spoiled faster.
It would be. Obviously, it wouldn't have had the kind of long box office run that it did. But let me think. So I'm going to guess, man, you guys did 4 and 4.2.
I know. They screwed you.
I can either do 4.1 and hope for a direct hit, or I can go under Garrett and hope to catch it somewhere along the way. Let's do Let's just do it. Let's just do 4.1. Let's just hope for the direct hit.
You're just trying to avoid the inevitable there. All right, we are lined up in a row here. Garrett at 4.0, me or get David at 4.1, and me with a 4.2. I can tell you all that we have a direct hit this week. It's been a few weeks. It's been a little bit since we've had one of those. And this week, with a perfectly even score of 4.0, it is Garrett.
Oh, Garrett.
Wow, I'm honestly stunned by
in
that.
A row for Garrett.
Stunned by that. I thought Josh nailed it.
I thought I did too, but no, I didn't. It's a 4.
So a direct hit.
4.0.
That puts Garrett at 17, only one behind me.
A truly exciting game now in the burn.
And now
months.
Josh is at 14.
Silent
Josh
assassin.
is only 2 direct.
Ready, coming for you.
Josh is 2 direct hits away, or 4 straight wins away from being right here with us. And yeah, I mean, we've only got so many movies left in a year, so it's going to come down to the last few weeks. I have a feeling here
it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
I want to note, Garrett, that's 4 straight wins for you.
Ooh, look at that little hot streak
on
there.
a real streak. Mm-hmm. Can you keep it up? We will have to find out next week, because that's all for this episode of So Many Sequels. Subscribe to our YouTube channel or in your favorite podcasting app to keep up with the show. You can also follow us on Instagram at So Many Sequels Pod, Threads, and TikTok. Stay in touch. Tell us what you think of the show. And finally, you can head to SoManySequels.com for all those links and a catalog of our past episodes. Don't forget, again, on our Instagram, we're doing a call for Halloween movies, horror movies. Let us know what you like to watch every October, and we'll throw it into our voting pool that's going to start here probably in the last couple weeks of the month. It'll be soon. Anyway, at So Many Sequels Pod on Instagram. We will see you guys next week.